I went through a legal battle to reverse a conviction. Hi there, my name is Fatimata Ali. If it's your first time visiting my page, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Today, I'm going to be telling you a story of my life living in the United Kingdom. My entitlement to drive in the UK was being revoked. In other words, it was being cancelled because I had 6 penalty points on my full UK driver's license within 2 years of passing my first test. What this means is I was not allowed to drive at all, and driving for me was considered illegal. My UK driver's license was expected to be returned to the DVLA within a specific given time frame, 28 days from the date of the conviction letter. And to regain my entitlement to drive in the UK, I was expected to obtain another provisional driver's license and comply with the condition of a new or a learner driver until I pass another theory test and practical test. Bear in mind, I had gone through all this process to get this driver's license. I was completely muddled and distressed because I had no prior knowledge of the conviction. Now, let me tell you how it all started. I got back from work on one Saturday night at about 10 p.m. This was fairly over a month ago. I saw this brown letter envelope in front of my door. Seeing it, it dawned on me what a friend had said about brown letters in the UK, that they are usually not of good news. I headed inside my room, and normally I would have sorted out my showers, prayers before attending to letters. But that day, I quickly opened that letter, and what I saw first upon opening it shook my heart already. I swiftly unfolded the letter, and I saw an important notice about your driver's license. Reading that letter left me sat on that spot for over an hour. At first, I didn't know where to start from, but deep down in my heart, I knew I have to take an action. Based on that letter, I went straight to the DVLA website to check the status of my license. And when I got there, it was bluntly stated, your license has been revoked with 6 penalty points and a fine of £660. Can you imagine? Of which I had no knowledge about. I rang DVLA the following Monday. The lady I spoke with said it was an instruction from the police, and at that stage there was nothing the DVLA could do about my case, and it was only the magistrate court that could offer advice. So she provided me with the contact details of the magistrate court, and I rang them immediately after. I spoke to a lady. I explained the situation to the lady and how I was convicted without my knowledge. So the lady went through their system and read out my original offenses. So I asked her if she could send them over to my email, which I provided her my email address, and she did. I explained to the lady that I had no knowledge about the offenses that she read out, and I needed to make an appeal. The lady read out the appeal options for me, and I went in for what is called the statutory declaration. Mind you, the court is not legally allowed to offer any form of advice, suggestion, or guidance in making your decision. So I was expected to have read out all the appeal options before reaching out to the court. And at this point, I had already made a choice, which was the statutory declaration. I stayed on phone with her and she took me through the process. It wasn't even up to an hour when I saw an email from the court with my court appearance date, some instructions on how to go about the court, and some 3 forms to fill. At this point, I had chosen to talk to just one person. I decided not to talk to other people because of fear of discouragement. So I knew there was something I could do about it. I also knew that talking to people that I know living in the UK would discourage me. Most time, that is the life of immigrants in the UK. They don't want to enter into problem. So I only filtered those that could reason with me and those with confidence that would take bold steps to making things right. So that was why I singled out just one person and I started with the person. So it was not until I made a decision to appear in court that was when I started to talk to some people. When I spoke to my cousin, I was 60% sure that he would be like, "Why did you do that? You think he is gonna?" Surprisingly, he was like, "Yeah, you know, these things happen, and then you just, if you don't tell them you didn't have knowledge about it, they wouldn't know." And I was shocked. I was like, "God, did you just say that?" So I was so pleased that he was supporting me and he was there to encourage me throughout the process. And that was one thing that I needed. I started to gather all my evidences. Any form of evidence I could think of, I made sure that I gathered that evidence. You may want to know what my original offenses were or what actually led into the conviction. So here is the case. So the reason why the 6 penalty points were there was because I did not provide the police with an information they requested from me. So ideally, they had sent out a letter to my address asking me to provide some information, which I missed, which I supposedly missed that letter. Usually, they will give you a time frame. A new driver in the UK is someone whose license is not 2 years older. So if your license is not 2 years older, you are considered as a new driver. If you refuse to comply with the police letters, especially if they are asking you to provide details of a particular driver at a particular point in time, and you miss that letter, in other words, you did not provide that information, then that will cost you 6 points plus fine, and which means that your license is being revoked totally. It's cancelled. There's nothing you can do about it. That was my case. So the conviction was because I missed out the letter or I refused to provide or feed the police with the information they requested from me. That was the reason for the conviction. Now, why did they send out the letter? So that now formed the basis of the original offense, which was I was found driving exceeding the road speed limit by road cameras. So actually, I didn't know that there was a road camera on that road. And I wouldn't say it was my first time passing that road, but I can't remember passing that road. So actually, when they sent me the police report, I was going 36 miles instead of 30 miles. So the restricted road speed limit for that particular area was 30 miles per hour, which I was doing 36. So the road camera caught me. So usually you can have more than one driver for a particular vehicle. So if the police see the vehicle, they are not sure who was driving. So they will send out a letter to the registered keeper or the legal owner of that vehicle. So you provide the information of the person that was driving at that particular time. So that was the case for me, which I did not see the letter. So obviously the letter was sent out to my previous address, and I wouldn't blame them because when you change address in the UK, you are supposed to update the DVLA that you have changed address so that any letter at all regarding your driving will be sent to your current address, which I did not do because I was just so occupied in my head, so I did not do that. So the letter was supposedly sent to my previous address, and I did not know anything about it until the conviction letter. Now you want to know how I got the conviction letter. So I had just updated DVLA with my new address, and in a month, or like in less than a month, I got the conviction letter. So apparently when they were following up to send me another letter, they saw that my address had changed and they sent that one to me. So yeah, they were right in that aspect for sending the letter to the previous address. But where I had a point was that I was so much in touch with my previous address, and I received letters that come in my name because I knew I had not changed my address for most of the services. So I will always keep in touch in case there's any letter and whatsoever that comes in my name, I will get it posted to me. And there had not been any letter from the police or the DVLA in my name from my previous address. So that was what I capitalized on, and I went in for an appeal. So I gathered all these evidences. I got someone from the previous address to write me a letter saying that they did not see any letter in my name. From the last letter I received till date, there haven't been any letter written or sent out in my name. At that particular date that I was caught speeding. I was working, so I got a reference letter from my employer, even though the letter didn't serve its purpose. But yes, I got that from my employer. I also gathered all evidence that has to do with the reason why I was so occupied in my head and not being in the right mind of state to had updated DVLA with my new address. So I had gathered all this evidence. I had written an apology letter and I had written employment circumstances letter. This was around why I need my car for my job. And in the process of gathering all this information, I was still complying with the conviction, which says you cannot drive. You are legally not allowed to drive, which I was complying until my court appearance day. I had gathered all these evidences, fill out the form and sent to the court because I was expected to do that before the D-Day. So on the D-Day, I had woken up, prepared myself, had another copy of my evidences in hand. Then I headed to the court. I was actually supposed to go with a friend, but she woke up that morning and said to me, "Oh, I'm sorry." When I got there, I went through all security checks. They asked of my name and they told me my courtroom. I got there and there was so many people. Like, seeing the people just made me relax because there were all kind of people in suits, people of different races, and then people that care, people that did not care. So I sat there in front of my courtroom. This lady came up to me and was like, "What's your name, please?" I showed her my name and I mentioned it also, and she went inside and called me. So I went and met the legal advisor. So she prepped me. She actually summarized the whole proceeding. I pleaded guilty for the speeding because there was road camera evidence, and pleaded not guilty for not responding to the letter because I did not see that letter, and there's no reason why I shouldn't respond to that letter. I mean, I'm a good resident, so I will always reply to letters and I will always do due diligence. And she said, "Your appeal is granted. The offense that led into the conviction has been dropped because you have opened a statutory declaration." So the best we can do is to go back to the original offense, which was the speeding. And speeding is a normal thing for drivers. Sometimes you are moving from 40 mile per hour road to 30 mile per hour. So sometimes unconsciously, you will just, whilst you are slowing down, you had entered the 30 mile per hour and you will still be like maybe 35, 36, 34, thereabouts. So these things happen unconsciously. The best the court can do for me is to give me the punishment for speeding, which was 3 points on my license and a fine of £100. So she said the fine of £100 is a general thing for anyone that comes in the court. So she asked me if I can pay that, and I said yes, and she said okay. And she said, "I'm going to tell the judges exactly this. Is that okay? Am I agreeing to that?" And I said, "Yeah, that's fine." I went out and I sat outside with the other people. I was trying to read online to see if I would stand a chance of asking the court to rather make me do the speeding course than having penalty points on my license. But I got to realize that the speeding course is totally the police discretion. The court has no right to opt you for the speeding course, neither do you have the right to opt for the speeding course. So I believe if I had seen the police letter earlier, I would have been allowed to do the speeding course because that is usually what you get to do as a first offender. It was my turn. I went inside. You can't believe I did just less than 2 minutes inside the court. When I went there, they greeted me and I responded. Nobody even offered me a seat, even though there was a seat behind me. The legal advisor who was sitting in front of the 3 judges turned and said to them that, "Here is Fatima, and this is what Fatima and I have agreed." They just spoke with each other. They were all smiling. I believe they were like, "Oh, poor girl. Why would this fine, beautiful girl be here battling with driver's license?" They just reiterated what the legal advisor said. And I said, "Yeah, I agree with that." So they will send me a letter after. What they were actually concerned about was paying of the £100, because they did ask me if I will be able to pay the £100 within 28 days, which I said yes. And they were like, "If you do not pay that £100, there are ways that we can get you to pay that £100." So I was just, and they were all smiling. I said, "Yeah." So that's all. If you have nothing to say, that's all. And I'm like, I came out and I called my friend. Then she was like, I also. And I said, I'm done. And he was like, oh God, that's so soon. What was the verdict? And I said, yeah, in my favor. And she's like, what? I thought this was going to be something big. And I said, I thought so, but no. So end of story. I hope you do learn one or two things from my story. Employing you to write in the comment section what you have learned from this story, or what we can learn from this story. What is the moral lesson from this story? Please help us. Write what you think is a moral lesson in the comment section. And please don't forget to like, share, and comment. Para! See you in my next video. Thank you.